Welcome. All right, without further ado, Julia, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Sure. I'm going to keep it very short, but Katie Spriggs is the executive director for the Eastern Panhandle Empowerment Center, which is formerly the Shenandoah Women's Center. And I'm very excited to hear from them this year because I know that they have been doing a lot of great work, and they are one of our beneficiaries from Christmas for Charities. So thank you so much for being with us, Katie, and we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us today.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. The longest week ever because we're all just came back, right, from vacation. So I'll start by just describing a little bit about what EPIC does and has done historically, and then we'll move on to like some more recent stuff, just for anyone who doesn't know. So the program was founded in 1977, and it was founded as Shenandoah Women's Center. It was founded by a social work professor at Shepherd and a local attorney who, in their own travels and in their own life, had, been hearing about, it was just domestic violence in the beginning, had been hearing about domestic violence occurring in our area. This was also the same time that there was kind of a nationwide movement to get some services for survivors, active in all communities. So in 1977, they founded the program. It started as just the 12-hour hotline, 12 hours a day, that was answered in donated space on the third floor of an apple factory. Not Apple the phone, Apple the fruit, 1977. And 1978, they actually purchased the current shelter property today. So our shelter is, 44 years this year, 43 years this year. And they operated everything out of that location for a while. Slowly over the years, we incorporated more services. So right now we provide services to domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, and dating violence survivors. So it has grown significantly since 1977. It was founded with just volunteers. We now have a staff of almost 30. Some of them are part-time. It was founded with no operational budget, and our operational budget this year is $1.3 million. So it has grown quite a little bit in those 40-something years since we started. We now also serve all 3 counties of the easternmost Panhandle, Berkeley, Morgan, and Jefferson. We do have physical structures in all 3 counties, and then the shelter is just in Berkeley County, but it does serve all 3 counties. The office in Jefferson County is actually in Ranson. It's right behind the hospital on 3rd Avenue. There's a strip of like 4 or 5 businesses, and we are in that strip on 3rd Avenue. So that is an outreach office. The location is public. It also operates as a drop-in center. One of the things that we pride ourselves on throughout COVID is that since May, all of our offices have been open for drop-ins, so people can still walk in, which is sort of rare right now. And the reason that we did it, and the reason that we still do it, even though obviously it signifies a higher risk, is a lot of the individuals that we serve, that is their only way to access services. They might not have access to a safe telephone. They might not have, access to a safe email or any way to contact us that's other than walking in. So we wanted those services to remain open to our most vulnerable population. So now, flash forward to now, we provide services to about 1,400 new victims every year. And that's all ages, all genders, all races, all socioeconomic statuses. I mean, it's truly just a wide range. We have a 16-bed shelter in Martinsburg. It is significantly too small. You've probably heard this by now. I feel like we've been saying it for years, but since 2016, 15, we have been full every single night. We haven't had an open bed in years that wasn't immediately filled. So like right now, as we sit here, we have 16 individuals in the shelter. We have a lot of children right now. It's a joke that they outnumber us because they do. There's 12 children and 4 adults. So we're significantly outnumbered by children, which was fun at Christmas time. So We have 16 people in the shelter and we have over 40 on the wait list. So in order to actually fit everyone, we would be looking at about a 60-bed shelter any given day. So it has been a goal of ours for the past couple of years to work on raising the funds that it would take to either construct a larger building or to buy something bigger and renovate it. The current space, a lot of you probably know where it is, but it's the size of a very large house. So it's not able to be renovated to fit more people, the current location. But obviously that capital campaign was kind of put on pause for COVID. It's really hard to fundraise right now, as I'm sure you're familiar with, and it's just not the time to be doing anything big like that. So we've just been working around it. Speaking of COVID, how it's affected us, I mean, we are essential, so the work has never stopped. The shelter has never closed. We were able to space their beds out a little bit more. We do have 4 large rooms that are shared. So unfortunately, as of right now, every family does not have their own room. That would obviously be a goal in the new building, but 4 large rooms that are shared. So we were able to space everyone out. We were able to put up barriers between every bed. It looks a little wild right now, but it's working. We were able to put some, we have like a group room where typically we would do groups, but obviously right now that's not happening. So we were able to really space that room out so that when clients meet with their advocate or their case manager, you know, everybody is spaced out. Everyone is wearing masks anytime they leave their bedroom. So because of that, in the shelter, we have been lucky that we have only had 1 COVID outbreak, and that happened in October. And out of a potential 30 people that were exposed, we only had 4 positive cases. So it was 2 staff and 2 clients. Everyone recovered. Everyone was okay. No serious. I mean, it wasn't that serious. And now we are just, and the health department said, like, the only reason that it worked was because, you know, everyone's being so careful. We have every half an hour disinfecting schedule. It's wild. So it's working over there. In outreach, the offices closed for March and April. They reopened in May. We took that time to like deep clean, separate everything, work it out. We are operating on teams, so we're not all in the office at the same time, which is really helping. It's chaotic for those of us who are in the offices, but it's working to keep everyone safe. The hardest hits that we've seen from COVID were increased need for shelter and other services. April and May I've done this work for 8 years. I'm going into my 9th year. Those were the hardest 2 months I've ever experienced here. It was, I mean, we had very little guidance. I'm sure everyone felt that way. There were so many mixed messages about what was best for who. And then we also had 7, 8, 9 calls a day for shelter, and we have no space, and no one has any space. It wasn't like we could just send them to the shelter over, you know, in Hagerstown or in Winchester, because most of them are shut down and only accepting state residents or county residents at this point. The homeless shelters were overrun and overflooded. I mean, it was just like there was nowhere to send anyone. We got lucky that the health department really advocated for us. I don't know if you remember, this probably didn't affect anyone as significantly as it affected us, but in April or May, the governor ordered that you could only rent a hotel room if you were going to stay for 2 weeks. You couldn't do short-term rents, and that was catastrophic for us because hotels were our next line of defense when the shelter was full. We got lucky, and the health department really advocated for us at a state level, and they made an exception for our clients. So that was very helpful. But we were using hotels. I mean, we were using hotels times a million. It was wild. We had at any given time 50 people, 30 families in hotels across the 3 counties, and coordinating food drop off was an interesting life. We all know it was hard to find food at that point and real groceries. And you couldn't buy quantities of things. That was the other struggle. We would go shopping for the shelter and people would think we were hoarding food. It was just wild. But it has calmed down. I mean, it hasn't calmed down in the sheer amount of requests for services. That is still definitely escalated. I mean, it's January 6th. We already have 3 families in a hotel because we can't fit them in the shelter this year. I mean, it's just every day, you kind of just don't know. We were able to receive some COVID money through community development block grants and through some of our federal grants to help pay for those hotel rooms. So that was very helpful because obviously that was a concern in the beginning. But honestly, it feels like, I mean, like all of us we've adapted to our new normal, and it's just sort of expected at this point that there's going to be increased, services and the increased need. So at this point, we're kind of trucking along okay. We've adapted. Everyone is busy and serving a lot of clients on any given day, but it's refreshing to me because we've been able to get back to some of the things that we do that isn't direct client intervention. So it's legislative season, so we are actually active doing work in that realm, which we do every single year. It's nice to be able to do that. It's refreshing. It is also Human Trafficking and Stalking Awareness Month this month. October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we've been able to do things for those months that, just didn't even seem possible. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. That went completely by us. I mean, there was just no way that we could do any real outreach at that time. We've developed a podcast. We've been doing a lot of anti-oppression work because the connection between anti-oppression work and ending these victimizations that we serve over time they've always been interconnected. The battered women's movement was born out of the civil rights movement, so it's kind of always been, you can't end domestic violence if you're not going to address sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, all of these communities that are largely affected by these victimizations that we serve. You can't possibly expect to end any of these without, addressing those issues. So the podcast really focuses on healthy masculinity and anti-oppression. If you want to follow our podcast, it's Epic Echo, EPECECHO. And this is my favorite part. So I'm a podcast junkie. So when we developed this podcast, we are the people that can now say, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like if you've ever heard of a podcast, they're like, you can follow us on Spotify, or we're now, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. But that is just launching. We don't even have new episodes yet. We have a couple old ones from earlier in the year, but we are working on that. If anyone's interested in being a guest, we'd love to have you. If you feel the 2 topics are healthy masculinity and anti-oppression work. So if you're really passionate about either one of those things, please reach out to me. We'd love to have you as a guest. We just know that has been a way that people have really made it through this pandemic. And, we don't think the love for podcasts are going to go away anytime soon. So we really want to get in on that and, stay relevant to what we're doing in order to reach more people. So we are also adapting our Awareness Month events. So for January, we have stalking and human trafficking. We are doing trivia nights online via Zoom. So if you really like trivia, it's going to be a mix of so there's a stalking trivia night and a human trafficking trivia night. And if you sign on to participate, it's a mix of normal trivia, like everyday trivia, and, human trafficking related trivia, stalking related trivia, just to kind of get that information out there, get people informed. We do have prizes. Woo! I'll give you an insider tip. It's Chick-fil-A gift cards, sandwich gift cards or meal gift cards or whatever. They donated them to us because they're very kind. So that's what you could win. We are, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Netflix sensation, the show You. It very heavily deals with stalking. It's like literally stalking. So we are also going to have a couple of nights where we really dissect that movie and what that's portraying, what version of stalking that's portraying compared to what does it look like in practice, in real life, like what are some other versions of stalking. You can find all of this on our Facebook. If you follow us on Facebook, all of this information will be there. That's the easiest way to see it all at once. We'd love to have you guys join us. We have adapted fundraisers. We are having a golf tournament this year. Last year's was canceled, but we've been working with Crest Creek and Shepherdstown to come up with some ways to keep everyone safe. So that will happen in July. It's still a ways away to give us some time to get out of the deep reds that we're in, but it's in July. We annually do, and I'm sure some of you have come to it because it's in Shepherdstown. Has anyone, I'm dying to know, ever come to our annual sock hop? I know Stacy has because her husband is our lovely DJ. Well, so annually we host a sock hop. It's typically at Town Run. Obviously that's not happening now, but it's typically at Town Run. It's in February every year. And the whole purpose of that fundraiser is to raise funds for hotel stays when we can't keep people in the shelter. So we do it every year. It usually raises between $5,000 and $10,000. It's just by donation at the door. We have a great band. We have a great DJ. They have swing dance lessons. Like, it's really just fun. And we're sad that that obviously can't happen this year. So instead, the other thing that happens at the sock hop is an auction, a silent auction. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to still have the silent auction online to benefit the same, line item as the sock hop. And we're also going to have some like swing dance videos that people could watch, because everyone always loves watching, like throw people up in the air and stuff. Some 50s music, stuff like that, just to kind of do what we can to keep the entertainment there and still, have the auction open. And then we will have a save the date that will be released that day for our sock hop next year, because we have started planning that. So that's exciting. And my personal favorite fundraiser that is upcoming, this is literally giving me life. We have set a fundraiser for June of next year, June 2022, which feels like it's never going to come at this point. But we are doing the first epic safe at home softball tournament. So I'm psyched. I played softball for 15 years in my personal life and I'm ready. So, if your all's businesses want to put together a team, that would be cool. But yeah, we are going to hopefully make it an annual thing, and it's called Safe at Home, which is my favorite part because it's so cute. And it'll happen in June. So more details of that to come, but that is what we are looking forward to in our next couple of months/years. I do want to talk a little bit about our legislative focuses this year. I saw that we have at least one representative. Is he still here? I'm sorry. Yep, I see you. Hi, Delegate Espinoza. You don't have to worry about me coming to Charleston and finding you in your office this year because we can't come.
That's going to be a little different this year, but so always appreciate seeing you, and I'm glad I can hear a little bit about your program today.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. So EPIC takes a real special interest in policy because we know that legislation that is passed at a state level and a federal level, trickles down and really affects the people that we serve every day. So we try to keep our eyes and ears on any potential legislation that could either help or hurt the clients that we serve. So we always have a legislative agenda every year statewide. DV programs and sexual assault programs get together and have a legislative agenda. We meet with our representatives in district and in Charleston. Obviously, we are not going to Charleston this year. No one is really, except for our representatives. There's a couple of things that we're focusing on that you guys might all have a vested interest in. We are focusing on primarily cleaning up our stalking code. So last year, we passed a legislative action to a bill to change the definition of stalking so that it was a little bit more clear cut. The old definition of stalking implied that there had to be physical stalking, and we know that that's not how it happens often. So ironically, we cleared that up last year. It was great. It happened the same year we proposed the bill, which never happens. It usually takes us years to pass it. The bill passed, and this is funny. I don't even know if you know this, Delegate Espinoza, but it passed. And then somewhere in that system, the word stalking was removed from the code. So we technically don't have a stalking code in what we are the only state that does not have a stalking code right now. We have a harassment code that has a pretty good stalking definition in it, but it doesn't have stalking. So that was it made us laugh afterwards because we were like, of course, it was too easy. We got it passed in 1 year. So we are just going to clean that up this year. That's our goal. And then we have a couple other things we're focusing on. We're looking at sexual abuse. So there's two main types of sexual assault felonies. There's actual sexual assault felonies, 3 of them, first, second, third. Then there's sexual abuse felonies, first, second, third, which these are like non-completed sexual assault. So this could be groping, this could be forced oral sex, anything other than completed vaginal rape usually would fall under sexual abuse. So I was working, one of the things I do as director here is I testify as an expert in prosecutor cases. Criminal, usually sometimes like family court, but it's usually criminal. So I was sitting down in Jefferson County, actually, with a couple prosecutors a couple of years ago, and we had a case of marital rape. So it was a husband and a wife where sexual assault had been committed, but there had also been instances of sexual abuse. And we're sitting down, we're ready for trial. It's like 2 weeks away. And we realize that the code has a marital exception in sexual abuse. So you can't be charged with sexual abuse if the person that you're committing it against is your marital partner. So we couldn't charge this case. This guy walked away from that charge because there was a marital exception. So years ago, I mean, decades ago, they at a state level addressed the marital exception in felony sexual assault. And we're pretty sure that it was just an oversight, that just they forgot that there was, felony sexual abuse and it just wasn't looked at. So we're hoping to just clear that up. There was also another case, not in our jurisdiction, thank God, but in central West Virginia, where it was in a nursing home, and the wife was on life support, so she wasn't able, obviously, to give consent at all. But her partner, her husband, kept coming in and would force sexual abuse actions on her body. And when they figured out that this was happening, they, called the police. And they were like, "Oh my gosh!" and figured out that it wasn't a crime because they were married and it wasn't completed sexual assault. So obviously, it's a pretty big oversight that we're trying to correct this year. So those are two of our main focus points. We know that the session is going to look much differently and that it might be hard to get things through because COVID is obviously going to affect it in some way. And we know the budget will be priority because it is constitutionally mandated. So we're working around that, but we're hoping to at least get a little bit done. For you, delegate, and then also if anyone else knows any, elected officials, we are hosting some Zoom calls with our elected officials to meet with them in district before they go to Charleston, to really sit down and talk about these things that we have going on. Our next one is January 29th at 2 p.m. We will be mailing you and emailing you, Delegate Espinoza, with the information on that, and we will send it out to everyone else. But if you know someone that you think would be interested in joining us, please let me know. We'd love to talk with them. We have a couple other issues that we'd like to discuss. And we usually bring in like our statewide lobbyist, and it's definitely more official when we have these real conversations. Usually we feed them. We have like legislative breakfasts. So we were like, we had one this morning actually, and we talked to Senator Rucker and Delegate Horst, who is new. We met with them this morning and we were like, sorry, we didn't bring you Panera this year. Hope you had a good breakfast at home because we have nothing for you. But usually we're able to, feed everyone, and that's much nicer, but hopefully next year. So I have talked for a very long time, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask any questions you might have about anything related to services or the outreach that we do or the legislative work or anything.
Hey, Katie, there was a question that came up. You said you're looking for speakers for certain topics. What topics are you looking for the speakers? So our podcast is going to operate. There'll be new episodes twice a month. Once one of those subjects will focus on healthy masculinity. So that's where we're looking at basically how can men join the movement and really work to end all of these victimizations that we serve. So how can we get men more involved? But then it can also focus on like male survivors who maybe felt like they couldn't disclose what happened to them because there's a huge stigma around males being victims of any of these things that we serve. So it can it's the whole gamut around healthy masculinity, men being taught at a young age that they can't show emotion, and how did that affect them later in life? And, what did that look like when they went to high school, when they went to college? What did that look like through the gamut? So that one is really focused on guests that are either any gender that have been affected by male masculinity, or they identify as male and they have their own experiences related to what that has done to them. over the years. So that would be one. And then the second topic is anti-oppression. So that could look like anything from, have you personally been affected by one of the isms, racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever? Do you feel very passionate about ending one of those in your community? Like, do you have a real vested interest in it? Like, do you have like a family member that you've witnessed it happening and it was shocking to you? Or, you can kind of come up with like, this is what I really want to talk about. And then I'm sure we could frame an episode around it.
Great, thank you. What other questions do we have?
Hey,
Katie, this
when
is
you-
Laura Storm. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stacy. We started talking at the same time. I'm sorry. I'm the circuit clerk here in Jefferson County, and I just want to say I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm. I love the direction you're going with the center. I'm just overwhelmed with just how exciting you have made this to make it successful. I have come up to the office in Martinsburg a couple times. As we age, our sizes changed. I brought many of my business suits up. I have just, instead of throwing anything away, I've brought it up there for anybody that may use it. I did not realize there was an office here over by the hospital. I have reached out to a few people I know, and what I've done is I have some suitcases I no longer use, and I know when a lot of women leave the homes, they leave with garbage bags. So I'm encouraging other women as well, if you have extra suitcases, and I know we all do. I've got one large suitcase already, and I'm starting on my second one, excuse me, to bring to the center. Can I drop that off here in Charlestown?
Yep. So donations are another thing we've been able to keep moving during COVID. We do them by appointment. So the only thing I'd ask is that you either call, which I put the number in the chat, or you can message us on Facebook and we can make you an appointment to drop it off. Especially in Ranson. So in Martinsburg, if you're just like out and about and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this stuff in my car, just, call us, swing by Martinsburg. This office is staffed 8 hours a day, 8:30 to 4:30. There's always someone here. Ranson, there's only 2 staff in there. So they're constantly in and out to court, whatever. So there's not a guarantee that there would be someone there. So that's why we have you call. But yeah, you can drop. Ranson actually has a clothing closet in it. So clients can come in, shop in the closet, leave. They have hygiene stuff. Like clients can get it straight from there. The suitcases we would take, so you can still drop them in Ranson, but we usually take those to the shelter because clients that move out use those when they're moving out into their own personal apartment. But yeah, so we do accept all genders and all sizes of clothing. We obviously, at different times of year, might have different needs. Right now, it's kind of just like, we'll take everything. We kind of, are low on all of it. Usually when summer starts, we're low on shorts, flip-flops, stuff like that. But we do serve all genders. We actually serve all genders in the shelter. We have a specific room upstairs that is for male identifying clients, or a client that identifies like maybe a trans client that might not feel comfortable being with everyone else, can have their own space. So we do have a room upstairs that is private for either a male or another gender. So we do accept, all sizes. And the Martinsburg office is on West Martin Street. The Ranson office, I put the address in the chat with the phone number to call.
Thank you.
I just want to let everybody know the Ranson office is in the strip mall where Billy's restaurant used to be, kind of across from the Ranson City Hall, just to help give us all a reference.
Yeah, and it's like right next to what used to be the billing department for WVU, but I don't know what it is now, but it's like the second one in.
Hey, Katie, I'm going to kind of flip back to the sock hop. Do you have if you get a chance to go next year, it's amazing. I think that was one of the last events we were actually able to do, like last charity events we were able to do in person. But that event helps to pay. Your goal is set based on how many nights in a shelter, or how many nights in in hotel accommodation. What's the cost per night this year? Have you calculated that out?
Yeah, it's still around 100. We have some great hotels that kind of work with us to keep our price the same. So when we say $100 for a night, that's including the hotel stay and their food to stay for a family in a hotel. So like Stacy mentioned at the event, periodically Stacy's wonderful husband will announce, hey, we're at 50 hotel nights, which means we've raised $5,000. And yeah, but we count by night. And it was the very last event. It was like the end of February. So it was right before chaos ensued.
So maybe sponsoring nights of a hotel stay could be
Yeah.
pledged in that auction process and everything.
Yep.
Um,
Would be, that's what we're hoping to do, is to make the auction where you could, even if you're not interested in none of the online items, you could just pledge to sponsor so many nights.
Okay. And if it helps to provide some additional support for the children that are in shelter, we're still doing weekly meals. We start that back up next Monday. So if you need meals for any of the children in the shelters, let's talk. We'd be happy to help with that.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. Well, I think some of them will go back on the 19th when school, but a lot of them are virtual schooling. So they're there all day.
Okay, and this is, it doesn't matter if they're in school, this is an evening pickup once a week. We can maybe arrange for a group pickup that you can take back to the shelter too.
Awesome. Thank you. I might have, it might be Andrea. She's our director at the shelter reaching out to you, but I will have her.
Okay, and I can connect her in. And this is all 3 counties. So if you have children in any of the 3 counties, let them know. We do dinner and snack. So it's 10, or it's 5 dinners, 5 snacks each week.
Awesome. Thank you. That'd be great.
Sure.
Katie, glad to hear that you were able to connect with Chairman Rucker this morning. In looking at our committee assignments, it doesn't appear that we have a Eastern Panhandle representative on judiciary, which would be the committee that legislation along the lines of what you've typically advocated for would be considered. Chairman Rucker does serve on Senate Judiciary, and so I think she'll be a key advocate for you. I was glad to see that you've rescheduled next Wednesday's meeting for the 29th. That should work better for me. I was kind of triple booked on the 29th. So I wasn't, or I'm sorry, next Wednesday, but we'll definitely try to join you on the 29th.
Awesome. Yeah, we were laughing about that. So for those of you who don't know, the 13th is the only day in January that they will be in session. And then it officially starts in February, but we had a good laugh over the fact that we picked the one single day that they would be. So yeah, we have adjusted, and the new flyers are going out today. So you'll get one soon.
Good deal. Yeah, I got Nicole's email, so all good.
Hey, Katie, there's another question out there. Should we be aware of an abusive situation, and what steps should we take to help assist?
Sure. So domestic violence, if you're aware of that occurring, and like you're in contact with the victim, the best first step would be to ask them what they think could keep them safe. So like give the perfect world question, like in a perfect world, what would happen that would help you feel safer? So that'll really give you the steps that are next. So we know it's not a perfect world, right? And if the answer is my abuser gets arrested and goes to jail forever, that's not going to happen, right? But that at least tells us where their kind of frame of mind is and what the next steps could be. So there's a couple of options there. They could get a protective order, likely. It depends on the circumstances, but more than likely they could. So that would be something to look at. That's basically like a stay away order. It's not criminal unless they violate it. So that could definitely, be something. It could be that we could call law enforcement and see. Not all domestic violence is illegal, and that sounds crazy when I say it, but there's a big difference between behavioral definitions of domestic violence and legal definitions. So for instance, it's not illegal to berate someone every single day unless it meets the definition of harassment. It's weird, but it's not necessarily illegal to verbally abuse someone or emotionally abuse someone or gaslight someone, which is making them think they're crazy. But all of those things are domestic violence. So it could depend. It might be something that could use law enforcement intervention. It might not be. Best first step would be you could call us. We could walk you through some options, even if the victim isn't ready to talk with us, but they trust you. So you could be the go-between, and we could work through, providing some options. It's really situational, but keeping contact with them. So that's a number one step. You want to secure contact. So are they able to text safely? Can they call you at a certain time of day safely? Can they email? Can they make a fake email that the abuser doesn't know about? Like, how can we make sure that you stay in contact with them? That is number one first step. The second one would be, is there any way that they can start saving either money or start talking to people about where they could go? Do they have a safe place to go? Oftentimes it's not wise to tell the children if they're planning to leave, because sometimes kids will accidentally spill the beans and then the perpetrator knows that there's a plan. So your best first step would be to start the safety planning process. How can I stay in contact with you? If you want to leave the situation, how do we do that? What do we need to do to get that in place? Does the perpetrator have a job? Do they leave the house? That's why lockdown was so critical, because they weren't leaving the house. So our number 2 step in safety planning was like gone, because there was no way to keep contact with them. And we had perpetrators, like we had a victim one time that I swear we worked with the entire lockdown to get her out. And it was so hard because he never left the house. And when she left the house, she was monitored. He was tracking her phone. So one time she went to the grocery store and she had stopped by an office to get some stuff from us while she was out, and she took longer than he expected. So she came home and he had a body bag on the couch, just sitting there with not just sitting there. That's not illegal. It's not illegal to put a body bag in your own house, but you can see what that message is, right? Like, you get it, even though it's not necessarily illegal. So like, that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. It's not always so cut and dry. It's also not going to get you a protective order unless they actually like threatened something or insinuated something, or so there, it's often multifaceted. Number 1, keep in contact. Number 2, begin a safety plan. And number 3, call us and we can help from there and advise.
Wow. Thank you so much, Katie, for being on. Really appreciate your time.
Of course, I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for having us. Follow us on Facebook if you want to keep up with everything. And I'm sure we will be in contact again.
Certainly. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate what you do. It hurts to hear about the situation. It's painful, and you see it and go through it every day. So just thank you for what you do for the community, and you're definitely making a difference.
Of course. And thank you guys so much. We literally could not do it. I don't know if you saw our Christmas, but our community provided Christmas for almost 400 individuals that we serve. It was just astounding. And they had so much stuff and so many toys. And so it was great. We literally could not do it without all of you. And by the way, if you're ever looking for speakers, I'm happy to come back whenever you want us. I love talking about this stuff.
We're going to hold you to that.
I can't wait until we can do it in person and we're like eating or something while we're doing this. That'd be
right.
Yeah. Eating somewhere other than our house.
Hopefully soon. We're counting down the days for that one.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a good Wednesday.
All right. You too. Hey, quick announcement before we go. Wednesday, January 27th, Jefferson Medical Center is having a community blood drive from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's going to be at the Ranson Civic Center. So that is January 27th. It's a Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hopefully we get a good turnout for that, for the Jefferson Medical Center. So please try to make it if you can. And then one last announcement, next week, we are having an in-person meeting at the Charles Washington Hall. Dr. David Richards from WVU Medicine will be the speaker. So I hope to see you all there. And does anyone else have an announcement or anything for the group?
I'll just let you guys know the blood drive is actually almost full for this one. There was about 9 spots open when I looked this morning before the board meeting.
That's a great thing. Congratulations, Josh.
This is the small one. The next big effort will be in late March. That'll be the big community drive where we have about 150 slots to fill.
Perfect. Well, keep us posted with that, Josh. Thank you. All right. Anything else for the group? All right. Well, enjoy your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you all for being on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.